Hello and welcome to the Phoenix Plays, and today, as is evident by the yard, I did the little money cheat, not because I don't want to play the game normally, but what I want to do is I wanted to do a whole big deal showing off some of the engines. And showing off how to run them. And right now, we're looking at the Shay. And I have a whole bunch of Shays for, well, the purpose of switching. If they'll stay on if the freight cars will stay on the ruddy rails. Why am I marshalling trucks with two Shays? Here's the thing. Shay number 1 is actually going to be going somewhere else. Shay number 1, the one that we're driving right now, the one that's being fired up, and doing the shoving, we're gonna be we're gonna drop the dead Shay and whatnot off at the sawmill. No. The oil refinery. There we go. We're going to drop her off as the oil refinery switcher. And then we're going to take this one on with the, essentially the cordwood cars to the oil refinery. And what I'm looking at doing after I get all this stuff organized is then just leaving stuff around so people can switch with it. Because if I go here to the map while these guys coast through, here's my refinery track. So here are the barrels for the thingy. Here's a little shed for locomotives to rest in. Here we go, tracks for switching in. I love the freight depot. Or the little huts. But I do want to, what that does while I do this, bring up something we could do. Something I would love to see as a... These are just like 10 little things I'd love to see as a quality of life change to the game. Now, I'm going to be a little more basic. So, item number one, and probably the dumbest item I've ever said. But I would like a piece of paper or something, or like a plaque or something, like right here, like where these two bolts are, that lists, you know, all the prices of all the freight. So that way you know how much you're getting every time you deliver freight to the freight house. And it would work the same way if you're doing it with, like, the oil refinery, uh, the coal mine, the iron ore mine. Even let's say we get a copper mine, a sand quarry, a clay pit, along with, say, the big farm. There's a big farm update that I know is out there. You know, the wheat, the animals themselves, the like the finished meat, mail, um, whatever other freight we want to add in, like scrap metal from when we're, if like people want maintenance in here, like scrap metal from when we're mending the locomotives and freight cars. Like if we do take copper and have copper cable, and we have to make copper cables at the smelter, like the copper cable. This is something I'd like to see, is like, just have a placard that has all the prices of all the freight, refined and unrefined. That way you're not having to guess based on how much you are gonna drop. That's something I'd love to see really tried out. Another thing that I'd love to see, maybe as like, yes, could be a quality of life thing, is the idea of work orders. Something like what I've seen done in Derail Valley. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. Where you have like, where, yes, people like me would be forced to label our cars. I don't really like labeling cars or anything. But think about it like this. You have these work orders that are written out. So it's like, you can dictate what needs to go where. Blah, blah, blah. And you have the main, like, you could, like, have a main office. This kind of thing. Like, every industry has their own office. I'll give you an example. Let's come down here to the oil field. Also, sorry for the crunching you're hearing in the background. It's a cat. But I look around at places like I know in here. Somewhere in here. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, Probably wrong. God, please help me. I don't like being wrong, but you never blink and know. I guess this'll have to do as an example. But actually, let me try the ironworks. Aha! No, wait. That's the fueling stage. Bugger. Those are the main work tool. I don't know where it is. But some places have an area or have a building that's basically dedicated to being a like an office. Where the engines can how do I say it? Or where, you can, as the head of that industry, you can write out orders. Something like that would be nice. Like I put in a request, and it could be it could be things like you put in a request for a yard shunter, like a yard switcher, and maybe 20, 30 empty cars. And the host of the server has to provide you that yard switcher and those empty cars. I know. Sounds like a dumb idea, but it could work. You also write out orders for how many how many tankers how many tank cars need to be filled with crude oil that need to go, and you can write out the orders to where they're destined for. So going back to the ironworks setup I have, let's say you want to have it so 10 cars of steel pipes and 8 box cars of tools are going to be picked up with, say, 5 or 6 of these cordwood cars that are full of barrels of refined oils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where they're filled with like those cars, like the refined oil cars. So you're picking up like 5 of the refined oil cars. There's 10 flatbeds of pipes, 8 box cars of tools. Then you bring the cars down and they're shoved onto like, say, 4 or 5 tankers of crude oil that are being picked up on a freight train coming through. And like, let's say down here is like like a copper mine. Like along this whole back ridge, you've got a copper mine, you've got a sand pit. Like down in here, you got these two. You could have an engine bringing up these cars, shove them onto that train. And then you have an engine that's starting here at the coal mine. He comes up to the comes up, and if you junction here at the smelter, you know, there's like cars of raw iron, rail, cordwood, fresh lumber, fresh cut beams, logs, coal, you name it. And it's like, you want all those cars gathered together so they can be taken up to the freight depot. You know, and that's not an issue. You know, allowing a person to take up the role of industry manager. So he can write out all the, you know, the transcripts, the labels that are necessary for the for the flow of goods. You can even have, like, if and when we do get passengers. This is something I've always wanted to touch on. You know, passengers, mail, trying to think of other things you could get orders for. Passengers, mail, like the big, once again going back to the big farming update, that when we get new fuel types like oil and coal, Shedmasters can put in orders for that. You know, people can put in, like, a shed foreman can put in orders for that. Break. And yes, those Shays did just drop the base. But let's say we, like here at the Oil refinery or oil fields. We want oil burners. Less chance of an errant spark lighten us up like it's the 4th of July. But we could put in an order at the refinery. Have the refinery, have whatever engine is stabled for this section of track. Bring fuel in. I have never done this before. This is gonna be fun. Leave the sander alone. I have never kicked a Shay with a Shay. And now I have kicked a Shay with a Shay. I'm gonna have to back the other Shay in to pin that Shay to the to pin the Shay to the tanker so I can to drop the pin in. And then I'm gonna drag this. Here's the thing. I would love to see yes, I would love to see, work orders. Yes, I'd love to see the offices being made use of. But at the end of the day, it's a game I love and will cherish. Because in all retrospect, it's a game near and dear to my heart. Thing is I grew up in a place. I grew up near Californian narrow gauge. I grew up near the Yosemite. So, a game like this is near and dear to my heart. And are there things that I would love to see in this game? Yes. Are there things we'd all love to see in this game? Yes. Are there things that are necessary for this game to function. Yes. But also, some of the things I think we'd want to see are things that, at the end of the day, are just that. They're wants. They're not needs. We want maintenance. We want a new way to make things happen. We want new gameplay styles. But here are some of the needs I think we have. And when I say needs, these are core gameplay, core game needs. Number one, is a basic quality of life thing, a roster sheet. Now, I'm a gamer, I'm a streamer, I do all this stuff here, but think about that for a minute. A roster sheet. A sheet that allows us when we sign in, allows a crew to sign, allows a guy to sign in and would allow a guy to pick an engine to run with. So imagine having a sheet like that. Where we can, where like, you know, if I were to have people on this map, one of us could sign in. You know, we use our gamer name. Or whatever name we, whatever our Steam name is. Or we could use a nickname. You sign in, you give your nickname. I'm trying to think, did I set a handbrake somewhere on these cars? Because it felt like there was a handbrake still on. Handbrake off. Now we're going to see how this Shay performs. There we go. I mean, yeah, it's not fast, but what do you expect? Do I care? No. I don't think you need a speedy engine. once again, like I said, this may not be the fastest thing in the world. But is that a bad thing? No. Let's see. But here's the thing, I love these engines. Now, here's the next thing, here are 5 much needed gameplay things I could see being put into the game. 1, a roster sheet. So that way, you put in your nickname, whatever name you want to be called, but it has to be appropriate. I prefer being called Phoenix. I don't really like using my real name in gaming. I prefer Phoenix because I'm always, rising from the ashes, as it were. But you write down your name. Then you can pick you pick an engine off the railroad roster sheet. If the engine has a name or a number, has a name and number, bam, good to go. If the engine doesn't have a name and number, okay, you just grab it and go. That's number 1. Number 2, like I said earlier, having a price board. So that way, you're being told how much you're getting for each and every piece of freight that comes through. Something like that would help. I know. Sounds like a dumb idea. But it works. Trust me, I know. Another thing I would also like to see, maybe. Now, I don't think the maintenance is as important as people want it to be. But I would actually suggest maybe as an idea, some kind of head office. So that way, and head office is where you can have the roster sheet. You can have, the price board. Another thing I would actually recommend that you have at head office is something known as a blacklist. And I really feel like a blacklist is important. A blacklist allows you to take and put a person's name in there who, let's say, they're nothing more than a troll. And they just come in and completely wreck your game. Wreck your track, screw up your trains, everything. Having a blacklist, you can put their name in, so when they come in to join the server, even if they have the password, they can't join. They've been essentially blacklisted. So something like that would be nice. What else could we suggest? Now this could be something you could do too. Is like a crew assignment thing. But that's more a want, not a need. Like, the crews can assign themselves to work at various locations. But I'm not here to say, oh, that's a necessity. I do think, however, like the blacklist kinda is. Because while, yes, everyone's got the bright idea that, oh, well, we can trust these people and they're not gonna, bend us sideways. Truth is, there are people you're gonna have to blacklist. There are people who you're gonna have to turn around and say, sorry, you can't join. And on that topic, having a removed from service slip that you can hand to a player. So let's say the guy's being absolutely rude. For no reason, he's just being an absolute cheese. He's causing trouble, he's being a troll, he's, advocating violence, whatever. You fill out this little square of paper that basically amounts to a pink slip saying you're fired. And then you can actually put that into the the blacklist book, and boom, guy's now permanently blacklisted. Is it perfect? By all that's holy, no. Look at that. 10 cars. Some are still on the slope, and she just dead stopped them. Okay. So something like that would be nice. Where we could basically tell people, piss off. I know, not everyone wants to tell someone, hey, Mac, beat it. Everybody wants to be, the good guy. Everybody wants to play the fair guy. Everybody wants to be this big fat hero who says, well, you can't tell someone to beat it, Mac. But real railroads, if you want your railroad to survive, sometimes telling someone to, beat it, Mac, is going to be for the best. A lot of people won't like that, and a lot of people want to argue that point about, telling someone to beat it, Mac. Seems heartless. But let's say your best friend of 10 years just spent an excruciatingly long time making a very important part to the railroad. And when I say it's an important part, like, for him, he spent his time making this big ol', like, freight yard. Where you and your buddies are going to be switching. And, you know, the clown behind you decides, oh, well, I'm gonna run around and completely shaft everyone. I don't care what happens. And, you know, he would rather see people, well, you know, miserable. He'd rather see someone crying. That's what I don't want. You know, your friend of 30, you know, your friend of 10 years who, you know, you two got into this game together and by God, you're not gonna, by God, you want it to be perfect. You know, so think about it from the point of view of the person who has to put up with this jerk. Think about what this guy does. Think about how nasty he is. That's what I'm thinking about, you know. Because there are people who want to play the game seriously. You know, go be a troll on your own server. Um, Another thing, admittedly, I'm thinking about is that player, that person's hard work. I mean, how would you feel? You just spent 30 plus hours on your line. You just spent all this time making the best sightings there are, making the best freight yards, getting all the industries all connected. You spent all this time getting this all ready, only to have this putz, this idiot, this clown, this moron, this fool screw it up. Come right around and, you know, bend you sideways and call you Joe. Kind of thing. Think about that. Think about the people who have to put up with this dick. Who are putting up with this jerk, this bully, this absolute waste of human trash. Think about the many hours your friends have labored away to make this layout the best that it can be. Think about not only the hours that were labored into it, think about this. Think about the time you put onto this layout. Think about all the things you did. You know, think about all the things. Think about all the time and effort you put onto this layout. Think about all the people who spent their free time, you know, helping you put your layout together. Also, some little, yeah, trying not to swear, but it's a hard habit to break. Some little, you know, donkey, some little ant basically came in and said, "Oh, I don't care. Let me damage it. Let me destroy it." Guys, this ain't you know, time of corporate sabotage. Pull your head out of your sorry, skinny little backside and actually, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Help run a railroad? Don't sit there and think, oh, you're God's gift to the universe. Because let me tell you something, bud, you ain't. Let me give you a really good wake-up call. This is something my grandfather once told me. You can make all the friends you want. You can have all the friends you could ever dream of. But when that mask comes off and people see you for who you really are, you'll be lucky to retain any of them. And that's the whole thing behind the ban. That's why I'm suggesting a ban. Having these banned, having a blacklist, a list of players who are banned. On the inverse, what about a suspension list? A list where a player who, he made a minor mistake. It's not one that's so serious that, he needs to be completely thrown off the server, but it's not as bad as some people are making it out to be. A suspension list could be like a yellow slip. Could be something like, yeah, you're suspended from mainline service for, say, 30 minutes. So for that 30 minutes, he could be relegated to switching in a freight yard. Something like that. Is that a perfect answer? No. But let me tell you something. it's an answer. Once again, it's like my grandfather. He used to say this to me all the time. There is no such thing as a perfect answer. In fact, let me give you the 3 biggest pieces of advice he gave me. Number 3. Don't ever believe that there is a perfect answer. You will drive yourself insane. Number 2. Don't worry about making enemies. Make friends. Then make enemies. Number 1. Wear a smile. That'll make your enemies cry. Now, are these all perfect pieces of advice? No. Not for everyone. But, that's why I'm always saying, with, the idea of a ban list, of a suspension list of some kind. Wear a smile. In fact, something I even got this from a guy who works on the PNW. He said a railroad suspension list doesn't mean you don't work on the railroad. It just means you have made a grievous... It means you have made a previously grievous error. But the grievous error is not to the point of being fired over. That's what a suspension list would be. You made a mistake. You face the consequences. That's what a blacklist is. Am I saying, they're perfect? No. Can people abuse them? Yes. What I would always suggest is think about what you want to accomplish. Will a ban list help you? No. Yeah, I know, I'm waffling, but I waffle all the time. You don't... So, once again, let me reiterate the points that I want to reiterate. Number 1, I think having some form of a player roster, something where you can see, all the players who are signed into your game, is nice. Having a proper, clean, way to look at names, nicknames, whatever, would be perfect. Number 2, Having some form of a block list. Having a list like that would be really nice. Because then you can turn around and tell people that you're not putting. Then that way you can turn around and block the person who is kicking up trouble. Having some form of a suspension sheet. So if somebody does get in trouble, you can, you know, give them a less of a harsh punishment. Am I saying like everything needs to be a, kick the guy off the railroad? He's a really bad driver. He's a danger to everyone. He's gonna kill everybody. No. I'm saying let the punishment match the crime. Just because John Doe kicked some cars, there's the Billy Bob's passenger train. Now, if it was an accident, I would understand a suspension. Maybe a 3-day suspension where he's not allowed to do anything except load and unload freight cars. Now, if he did it deliberately, yeah, kick him. Get rid of him. Throw him out. To quote a friend of mine, look for the cancer in your team and find a way around it. Yeah, a lot of people are gonna go, it sounds like something someone said in the show, but I'm gonna say this. I've done, my fair share of team-based games. And I can tell like that, somebody's gonna screw you over. So having some form of a way to get rid of them would be nice. Now, is it necessary? No. Is it a perfect solution? Like I said, no. People can abuse that. Like I said, there are ways you can screw this whole thing over. But what you need to do is you need to find a way around the screw. My grandfather was very adamant on things. Hey, if you have a plan or you have a vision, go for it. Just because somebody's being a thorn in your side doesn't mean, oh, you need to stoop to that guy's level. No. If anything, I would recommend maybe not. Maybe let him get himself into trouble too. But but I should get back on topic here. The things I see as major gameplay needs, once again, like a blacklist, where you could say, okay, this guy, no. This guy, this guy, you have some kind of blacklist where it's like, this guy, no. He ain't gonna he ain't gonna do jack diddly. You have some kind of a suspension list. You made a mistake, and we'll punish you according to the severity of it. If it's something like, oh, you forgot the caboose. It's like, oh, you forgot 2 freight cars, but you patched it.